6:00. I'll call this meeting to order. Clerk, may I have a roll call and establishment of a quorum?
Cindy Byteam.
Here.
Mary Beth Shaw.
Here.
Barb Stotts.
Here.
Mike Wagner.
Here.
Matt Crowe. Dylan Helmenstein.
Here.
Andy Wolfman here.
Approve the posting, joining the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion? Why
Thought
not?
I'd sneak right in there. Nobody was saying anything. I want to get this meeting.
Okay, Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
Angie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. We don't have any public input tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Education workshop minutes of July 17th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Very done. Cindy? Yes. Mary Beth?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Do I have a motion to approve the Board of Education meeting minutes of July 24th, 2023?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing done. Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Do I have a motion to approve the payroll accruals and disbursements?
So moved. Second.
Any questions on any of those? Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
Angie?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. And a lot going on. I'll move and jump right into the admin reports for tonight. If you want to fight over who goes first. Rock, paper, scissors? No. Draw straws?
I could start.
Liz.
It's
love
been
it.
really
Thank you.
busy.
Yes.
We've been changing schedules like crazy and working with students and parents. I've done some senior conferences with parents, getting kids ready for planning for their senior year. So that's been fun. Learning the backside, some of it relearning and learning new, the backside of Skyward, because it's been about 15 years since I've had to go that deep into it, so that's been fun. Yeah, just really busy, but getting ready for the school year. Teachers have been in and out already. So, good things.
Any questions for Liz? Thank you. Dale?
Sure. Transition to the elementary level, it's going well. I think I've had opportunity to meet with all the teams, except for one, but I did have an earlier meeting this summer, so I have talked with all the teams. Had a really good meeting today with our SLT team at the building level, and just planning for a school improvement plan. That went great today. We had just a great discussion about what we're seeing, expectations, and where we want to go for the school year. Do want to mention enrollment. A lot of movement with student enrollment. I think on the board report, we're at 371. As of today, I have 385.
Wow.
So one of the areas that we need to consider is with 4K and limiting our open enrollment numbers to 4K may be needed because our numbers are we're in the 20s with our 4K classrooms at this point. So and I don't know what the rules are with that and where we're at with capping our numbers in our 4K program for open enrollment. If we can do that, that may be something that I would ask the board to consider. Any questions for me?
I just want to say thanks for your flexibility and
Yes,
changing
definitely.
your
Thank you, Dale.
role around so much in the last couple of years. So appreciate it.
Taking one for the team.
Most definitely.
We're in good shape. I am really confident that we're going to have a good start of the school year and we'll be on track and things will go smoothly. So,
We'll look at the open enrollment issue tomorrow for 4K administratively. You get to that fine tipping point where if you have too many students, your class size goes up to a point where then you have to hire another teacher, which would be extremely difficult right now, and then your numbers could go really low. So that's, we'll take a look at that and bring a recommendation.
and space-wise, I'm not sure where we'd go.
Right.
Another room. other questions for me?
Thanks, Dale.
I got to work with kids again last week, so student council met for the first time in years. So that's really exciting to have that start off and starting at student leadership again. And class officers got together with myself, Ms. Hauser, and Mr. B, and we started planning homecoming. So they worked out a lot of those details already, making surveys to talk to their peers, to find out who wants to be involved, and planning for school meetings and class meetings the first day of school. So they're really excited to jump in and get that conversation going. And then we also had our, like Dale said, at the elementary level, they had their school improvement team meeting, and we did at the high school, middle school as well, and spent a day talking about data and what's our next step in our pursuit of literacy, and taking these reading strategies to what's next. And there's a lot of really bright minds in our staff and great ideas of ways to incorporate it and tweak what's being done, and just a lot of excitement for new ideas and opportunities.
How many people are on the student council in terms of non-officers, or is at this point just?
So at this point, it's student officers, and then they've reached out to their peers, invited them to them, but that first meeting was just with the class officers, and then we'll open it up as well.
Do some peer pressuring to people to join. Yeah, exactly. Nice.
So since it hasn't been around for a couple years, when it comes to the budget for activities that they're going to be planning, where's that come from?
So they've inherited the previous school budget that was in their Fund 21. And then homecoming is typically where student councils make the money to then provide activities and opportunities and special events for the school for the rest of the year. So they're looking at ways to really bring a lot of people to homecoming and to the dance, while also being budget conscious. So they had a really good financial conversation that Mr. B led about, okay, what are our goals and what do they want to see happen? And, so maybe a $4,000 DJ isn't a great option for homecoming. And, he did a really great job of asking questions and prompting them to come to those conclusions. So, yeah.
And then when thinking about what homecoming is going to be, do you have I know it's early for them, a pulse of how much it's going to be school-centric versus in the community and involving folks who are alumni?
They haven't done, there hasn't been much alumni focus in the past that I know of. They are pretty student focused at the moment.
I do know that there are 3 class reunions that weekend. And I know Jill Adler has had some conversations with me about and I think she may have sent an email out too about possibly opening up the elementary school again to kind of have tours. Because we're going to run the tailgate again this year. So, I think if they can kind of piggyback on that too, knowing that there is going to be a lot of alumni in the area at that time. So that might make them think of something, fun things to do while they're here, so.
Well, and I certainly know it's an undertaking to plan any type of event at that scale. And I think previously there may have been some community members that worked on some sort of homecoming committee to some extent, and so maybe it's opening the door to, if any of them, if their parents are interested or have people that want to take that on and saying, hey, we'd be happy to take on some community events that weekend and can maybe benefit student council if it's, in terms of fundraisers or something. That might be a pitch of some sort if we can all help to some degree. Because I think even one of the focuses on having a one campus is how can the elementary school and the middle school be involved just as much as the high school.
Right, our middle school does basically everything the high school does, so they are very much intertwined. And then I know the elementary school they do some dress-up days, I think, and some stuff like that, so it's on a smaller level.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. And I guess in the community, we've got the parade and the window painting.
Somebody even broached the subject of maybe even opening the parade up to elementary or all grade levels and even community members, I guess, if people are interested. So I'm not sure what type of marketing strategy that would be, or PR effort in saying, hey, we're putting this out there, but, you know, if you have some strong-minded individuals that want to
Yes,
put
we always
together
do.
parades
Do
for a
parades.
third grade
Parades so
class,
bad.
you never know. So that might be something to pitch out there, or even Dale's. Let people know,
Yeah, I'll-
little kids pray.
yeah.
yeah, I'll bring it up to student council and see what
Yeah.
their vision is of what they want it to be. So,
Yeah, and, you know, I think, at some degree, we've been talking how we can be supportive of the student body and the student council, and even from a budgetary standpoint, if there are things, that we can do, but of course, can kind of morph from the independence of the student council and saying, hey, we have a lot of ideas, this is where we're at financially, what are, you know, working together in terms of, our relationship of supporting them financially too. We're opening the door to those conversations.
Yeah, and I really like, I know it's probably because it's so early in the year for homecoming this year, but the idea of having the student council formed even before classes really start, I think is a really good thing. To just kind of put into motion, like, the idea of planning even when summer's going on for the next year for students. So I like that idea, and would be interested to see it happen going forward, no matter what homecoming is.
Yeah, and they're in really good hands. Mr. B, obviously board approval today,
Yeah.
but he was recognized at the state level for his previous work with middle school student council as being awarded like middle school student council representative of the year. So they have a well-seasoned veteran advisor who just has seen a lot of different things in different places and is prompting them with various questions and ideas as other ways to do things and ways to get people involved.
That's
And then
awesome.
of course you have Ms. Hauser involved in there, she's such a great asset too, so I think those two heads together can really kind of help this whole thing blossom, which will be great. Great to have it back in place again.
Maybe bring back midwinter. Heard a lot of people. All right, any other questions for Kendra? All right, thank you. Kelly, welcome.
Thank you. I wanted to take a minute to highlight a lot of the different professional development our staff is doing in August already. We've had teachers attending many different conferences, watching webinars, really focusing on their collaboration together. So a lot of our teams have already met this year to look at their schedules and support. So elementary, middle school, and high school special education teachers all got together and started drafting those plans for our services. Which leads me into discussing the fact that we are still working on filling those EA positions both at the elementary school and at the middle school. So when they're making those plans, they're actively considering those things. And with staffing, it's a good moment to say that some of our summer school things are still wrapping up. We still have band going on and everything like that. So I'll look forward to a larger summer school report later on once everything is finished. But a tremendous thank you to all of the staff that worked very hard during summer school for those fun enrichment classes. Any questions?
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, Kelly. Greg?
Greg, update on the budget?
Oh, I'm still here. It's moving along. From a budget point of view, I'm trying to be mindful of these busy folks because they have a lot going on. So I don't want to spend their whole day just talking about grants and budgets and things like that. But I think we'll be in a good spot to present an initial budget at the next on the 28th, I believe it is. So. Excited about that. When it comes together, it'll come together. And Derek and I would actually spend time again talking tonight. We communicate regularly on the budget, just putting it together. So it's been a fun process. So getting to know it.
Your definition of fun.
Yeah,
It is.
Process.
I guess I have to say it's exciting. But just trying to figure out the history. There are some things that are here one year and gone the next year, and that's where I have to rely on these folks looking at the ESSER funding and some of those things. So building that back up and getting familiar with it is a challenge. And then we're working on some food service. And I also want to say, I was thinking about this, the staff really is incredible. They've been really patient with me, and I think Derek would say the same thing, at least from a budget point of view, and helping us, figure out who's on first. So I really appreciate their work and thank them for that. So, and that includes the people in the office, Bev, and everybody else. So.
Anything to add, Derek? Sums
I was
up.
just gonna say that they probably all cringe when they hear the word budget, because they know Greg and I are gonna ask, like, okay, why, who did this, why is it happening, is that the best way, is that just because of the way it's been done in the past, and then they know they're gonna get about 4 more questions after that. But it's been a good process, and I think we're all learning more and just kind of asking questions of each other and just kind of gaining a better understanding overall of budgets, rules, regulations, and kind of here's why we're asking the questions as well.
And the audit is on Wednesday and Thursday.
Yep. Another great fun process.
Yeah, right.
For business managers, that's like Christmas, the audit. Audit New Year's. all
Rather than
wrapped
go to
up
the
in one.
dentist.
Yeah, we're in a good spot for that, and we have most, if not all, of the requests kind of in. It's a listing of roughly 75 to 80 requests, and then once they get on site, they'll look through everything and ask for even more, so it's just a fun process, and you have to explain why you did stuff, and here's why it's right, and go away. In the nicest way possible.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. And I guess I can extend thanks and gratitude to all of you with the vacancies and transitions, and, it's definitely not been smooth sailing, but I think we all are in a confident position because of the team that we have, and there's certainly levels of silver linings in figuring out, things that we maybe didn't previously know, and holes are kind of made transparent, and so we're learning a lot, and people are being really patient and flexible and collaborative, and so just extending thanks and gratitude to all of you for doing the best we can.
There's a lot of change right now, a lot of moving parts, a lot of new positions. Another one that we'll talk about later in terms of resignation. But we're doing okay. We had a really good Zoom meeting with Skyward today. The majority of us were in on that and just learned a ton. And I left that with a whole higher level of confidence that we're okay. We're just going to be fine. It's just a lot of learning, not only in terms of what we need to do, but learning how to work with new people at the same time, which is, that's part of it, so we'll be okay. I've had just a lot of meetings, just like everyone else, busy. Had a nice meeting with the special ed teachers regarding EAs with Kelly and her team. I met with a couple EAs just in terms of trying to recruit back. We're looking at positions. We'll talk about that later in the agenda. We had a very productive meeting today with our 2 law enforcement gentlemen from both Mazo and Black Earth. We administratively met in terms of what our plans are throughout the year and when we're going to be doing some training. So lots going on. Exciting place.
Any questions? All right, thanks again. We'll move on to district business. 5.1, a highlight for tonight is our facilities and transportation. We do have a short update on transportation.
I talked with our transportation company 2 or 3 times. Feeling real comfortable where we're at. We embedded the transportation information sheet with registration. They're taking all of the applicants and they're coming in appropriately. Typically we're a smaller school district. There's not a significant change. It's just making sure we get all the kids on the list and they're on a route. So on the first day of school, kids get picked up and they get home on time. That's the first day or 2 is pretty concerning in terms of making sure that happens. But they're very comfortable that we're on track. They have 1 opening out of 9 runs, and I think probably 11 runs with 2 special ed separate runs. So that's pretty darn good. And then we talked about potentially filling that position with maybe a need that we have in terms of an EA to make a full-time job. A few hours in the morning driving, a few hours in the afternoon, or in between doing some EA work, whether it's in the classroom or whether it's in food service. So we're trying to work together in the event that that's a possibility. And I think the other issue was the solar project. You know, there's a lot of emails that have gone back from, with Bert, myself, Barb, and Bill. In a nutshell, moving from the solar panels on the ground on our property to up on the building is actually less. You would think that'd probably be more. It's less, it's closer for the, with their equipment. They don't have to move so much. It's like $30,000-$40,000 less. We're still, there's going to be about $112,000 in terms of increasing power to this facility that we've talked about a little bit. And of course, there's some tweaking that'll continue when they put that project in. So when it completely is finalized in terms of that specific number, we'll get back if it, in the event it needs approval. But right now, you have approved the project, and the change order, if I may, from the field to upstairs is actually less. So we're all in good shape there.
And a thanks to Burke again for sticking with us. And you can just tell we've partnered with the right company. He's so passionate about all of this and is never hesitant in sharing all the intricate details of the devices and the machinery and the energy flow and the storage and the which goes right over the heads.
You'd have to be a scientist or an engineer
to
figure all that stuff out. I've worked with Bill over the last couple of weeks and with Burke, and I'm confident that they've got their heads wrapped around this. And Greg, and you're looking at me like you don't even know what we're talking about yet. You've got enough on, just get that budget done.
We've got the money.
That's what
You
I'm
don't
worried
have to
about.
find it.
Get the budget done.
Just get the budget
You're
done.
saving money for us already. Oh, nice.
Any questions from anyone? All right. Then we will be moving on to the next item, discussion about school perceptions, facilitating a perception survey with us. And I know this is something that we touched on at our workshop and just wanting to be really intentional about our communication and you know, really inquiring the minds of our community and staff and students about their feelings for a plethora of different items. And so we're going to partner with School Perceptions, and Craig has a lot of...
I've reached out to School Perception. I've worked with them probably in every district I've been. Greg probably worked with them in Toma. Most districts use School Perceptions to some degree. We talked about at the workshop a perception survey in general, which will get more information for a contract. I was hoping to have it by tonight, but it's I didn't. But in 2 weeks we'll have a contract to bring forward, so we can move forward in terms of putting that together to get some baseline data. We haven't done that here in a while. The last time we used School Perception was for the referendum, and of course we'll want to include that with a general survey. You don't want to do multiple surveys in 1 year. So knowing we're going to referendum in April, we'll want to include that in terms of getting some data as it relates to the community's support and appetite for extending our operational referendum. So I'll have more on that in a couple of weeks. Bill Foster is the founder of School Perceptions, who I started working with 25 years ago, and he's actually going to work with us, with Heights, on moving that forward. And so much of that's already done. Back in the day, you'd have to almost create that by yourself. Done that in over 6 years, where we were able to tweak questions. You know, the more thought that go into questions, the better your data is. So we'll have more on that in a couple of weeks, and we'll move forward with that this fall. There's not a good time to do a survey for school perception. There's always a reason why it's not a good time. beginning of the year, you're busy. End of the year, you're tired. There's just, end of the year, you just got over contract negotiations. I mean, you just gotta do it and then be consistent when you do it from one year to the next.
Any questions?
I was just gonna mention, Black Earth Library Board is going through a process of possibly expanding, and we're talking about doing a survey, so I don't want that to conflict with our survey.
It would be nice to know when that is. So that-
Yeah, well, I think we'll probably defer to, well, I'm one of the board, so.
We'll let you know when we're doing ours,
Right.
how's that? But that's a good point, because, you know,
Fatigue.
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. All right then, moving on to 7.1. Do I have a motion to approve the changes to the student dress code in the elementary and middle school, high school student handbooks?
I'll move.
Second.
Which one?
That was,
I stopped.
This might stay out of the Family Feud rules.
we have a buzzer.
Of the slump cat.
After our board meeting last week, there was conversation on the dress code. And I sat down with, well, at the time, Dale was not in his new position as the principal. And of course, that goes under the last item on your contract, other duties as assigned. Thank you. And he had some tweaking he wanted to do. And then Liz and I talked in terms of tweaking that. And I thought, when's the last time a high school, our high school dress code went through our attorneys? And it's been probably a long time, so I sent it to our attorney. They just cleaned it up a little bit, made some changes, and you can see there, if you read through that, the issue of the hats that we talked quite a bit about last month has been changed. And then, of course, what can be worn and what can't. You know, some of it we didn't get so detailed, but at the end of the day, I would say, there's an argument we made it a little bit more restrictive in terms of covering the stomach and the torso and whatnot. So that'll be a change for some kids. So we'll have some students that'll fight that a little bit, but just trying to clean it up a little bit where it's just a more school environment rather than the beach.
Well, and I think it reads in a more simplified term. It's a little bit more direct and eliminates some of the verbiage to just like clear cut, here's what it is. Any questions on any of it as it reads?
Would you count a male crop top as a halter top? Just making sure that it would get applied.
This
It's
is not
a
gender
shirt.
specific.
It's not a shirt.
I don't want to see
Sure,
it.
it's got
I
to
don't-
have
yeah.
front, back, and sides, and it's got to be,
All the way down.
it's got to be the
Makes sense.
full. Yeah, I don't really want to be fashionable.
Well, right.
And you do to get to a point where, you know what, we're making some changes here. We also have to have a little common sense prevail here. You can't go from here to here without. You can have kids testing it, that's one thing, but kids that are just, the intent isn't there, maybe the shirt's a little small. Well, the shirt's a little small, so common sense comes into play.
All right, any other questions? Okay, you're done, Cindy?
Yes.
Mary Beth? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Dylan?
Yep.
Angie?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. All right, 8.1, we will now adjourn to executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. When the executive session ends, the board will resume to open session.
I told the administrators if they have somebody that is on for